Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
We're continuing our conversation with Gene Bone. We got part 2 here. We're going to talk with Gene about his Hall of Fame career in golf in Michigan. Gene was inducted in 1988. Now, the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame roster is loaded with major championship winners, and Gene, you've played with a number of them. How about Walter Burcham?
Walter, you couldn't help but like Walter. Walter was a friend of everybody, had a great heart. He'd help anybody out that was ever in trouble. I know there's some stories on the tour with any caddies that were down and out. He'd be one of the first one in line to go to the hip, as they say, and he would help them out. But a great player, and if you watch him, there's something about him that he could have won more, I felt, because of his ability. But he's very casual, but excellent player.
Another PGA champion, Chuck Harbert, longtime pro at Meadowbrook.
Well, you know what? I never did hit it as far as Chick.
Who did?
And who did, right? So anyway, Chick was one of the stalwarts here in Michigan for a long time at Meadowbrook, and he had a very awkward grip. You'd have to look at his pictures it's tough to describe. His thumbs were off the shaft, and he had a different grip, and he had the air about him, and he was a good player, and he had a lot of confidence in himself, and he could do anything, and he did. So it was a pleasure. I got tangled with him a couple of times. I didn't beat him. I know I finished runner-up to him once in the Michigan PGA. Couldn't catch him, but he certainly was a great asset to the state of Michigan, that's for sure.
I think he still holds some scoring records in the various state tournaments, and nobody hit it farther. And Chick did not lack in self-confidence. How about Big John Barnum from over in Grand Rapids?
Well, Big John is right. That's the way he was. He's a big man, and he had that little gait. He had a special walk that a lot of the pros used to imitate him, and yourself, you've done a pretty good job imitating John's walk. He had a special gait about him, and he was a big man. I don't know, he must have been 6'5" or 6" at least. And but he could play. He was a friend of Walter Burcham. They traveled together, him and the Aber brothers. They were always traveling together and played together practice rounds. And John was from Blythefield on the west side of the state here in Michigan, and a pro there for many, many years. I forget how long he'd been there, but he's still one of our outstanding players in the state of Michigan all these years.
How about the Hill brothers, Dave and Mike from Jackson?
Oh boy, you got two boys there that created quite a record for themselves, and Dave jumped out of the box there pretty quick and did very well, and of course played the Ryder Cup team, and he was probably the best putter I had ever seen. To me, I just felt he could make a putt from anywhere. I don't think he'd ever miss, and he had confidence, which you must have when you play that league. And of course, Mike was probably the most consistent through the years, and of course did marvelously well, and of course ended up on the senior tour and doing excellent. And two great players. I guess they're still in the golf business. I think they own their own golf course, and they maintain it and keep it going. Once in a while, you'll see Mike's name jump up on the senior tour, but and play once in a while. But two great, that family, great golfers.
A couple of fine amateurs, Chuck Kosis, who is like Michigan's all-time. What about Chuck?
Well, Chuck I'd met several times. He used to play here at Bay Point as a guest. He played with one of our members here at the club, Howard Cole, and his brother, Donnie. And they played all the time. And I used to sneak out when I could. He wouldn't hit many. He wouldn't practice much. You might see him hit one or two balls, then he'd go to the tee. And I used to sneak over the tee, and I'd tell my staff, I said, "Watch this man swing. He's so loose from the old style, a swinger, we call it, rather than trying to knock the cover off the ball. But a marvelous putter and a short game player. and a fine gentleman as he was. He was kind to me when he ever come out to the club, and we'd chat. And of course, I talked to him at the Hall of Fame dinners, and he's a great player. We're fortunate that we had him in our midst.
How about another amateur who plays at a club fairly close to here, another lake club, Pete Green has won the Michigan Amateur. Gosh, it seems like in every decade of the last half century.
Well, him and Glen Johnson, but he great competitor. I played with him a couple of times, but very hard nosed, very determined, and an excellent player. And of course, any good player is going to be a good putter, short game player. He better be, or you won't beat nobody. But I think because of his competitiveness that he was a great player.
Yeah, Pete could get up and down from anywhere. And you did mention the 5-time amateur champion, one of the great match players of all, and one of the most colorful in Michigan golf, Glen Johnson.
Right, Glen, of course, being a member of the Hall of Fame, but he was well known for his being a competitor, but especially match play. He was a tough. I'm glad I was a pro and I wasn't an amateur. I didn't want to face him, but he learned gross heel there, and a great putter, and a great what would you call person that he might disrupt his opponent very easily. Is that the right word?
I think so.
Because I'm trying to be kind, right? But a great man, and again, a good friend, and excellent player, that's for sure. Well, Arnold, I got paired with him a couple times. Once, of course, when I was leading Houston there, and didn't say much, which is fine. But he was all business, and I appreciated that. That didn't bother me at all. But he was a great competitor, as his record shows. And then another time I got paired with him at Pebble Beach, and him and Billy Casper and Tony Lima, the last round of all times to go with them. Of course, Billy ended up winning at Pebble Beach, and he drove with a 3-wood every hole. He never hit a driver, and I was within tied for the lead with about 4 holes to go, something like that. And then I went bogey or something. Something happened, and then if I lose by 4 shots, which is one of my best tournaments at Pebble, and he ended up winning, I think, by 1 shot over about 5-6 guys. I think Jack Nicklaus was one of them. He laid up the last hole, drove with a 3-wood, hit up the next hole, a 3-wood, and then wedged it up there for about a gimme, and just tapped it in to win by 1 shot over. But those kind of fellows were great. It's something that, as a youngster, you read about and you follow them, and then when you get to meet them, you say, "Oh boy, it's such a great thrill," and I wouldn't trade anything for it.
But Sam Snead, he was a fixture in those early years at Warwick Hills, and great swing. But what was Sam like to play with?
Well, what can I say here? But Sam, I got paired with him a couple times in practice and also a couple tournaments, and a great. You couldn't help but admire him because he had great hands and great swing. And of course, he's a great athlete and very loose, long swing. But he could hit those short irons, in which he was a great player for. And of course, too bad he went to side saddles for a while, and of course, then changed. But he's always blamed his putter. But he won. I think he won 80-some tournaments. He couldn't have been too bad a putter, but he was a fellow that didn't like to be beat. He's such a great competitor. He didn't want anybody to beat him, especially a young rookie. He'd get a little upset at you if you were putting better than him, because he didn't like nobody to out-putt him. But it was a pleasure to play with him, and I'll cherish that the rest of my life.